Hi, Mr. Gilbert. I hope you're doing good during this pandemic. For myself, I'm doing pretty okay. I'm in Montreal, at my girlfriend's apartment, spending some time together. We walk, we run, we cook, we watch some TV shows. Yeah. But don't worry, we're keeping our distances with everybody else, 2 meters. We don't have any symptoms yet, fortunately. And yeah, she is currently at her primary school because she is a teacher and she's getting ready. She's getting ready for the 25th of May. Yeah, that's when the schools are opening here in Montreal, the primary schools. So yeah, let's get started with my presentation. Today I wanted to talk about a helicopter accident that happened the 1st March. The reason I wanted to talk about this is that I think it's something that could have been prevented in many ways. We're gonna get to it later, but yeah, that's the reason why I want to talk about it. So the 1st March 2011, three friends, everyone had his own helicopter. I don't know if it was rented or it was their helicopter, but three friends, each one in a Robinson R-44. They were following each other from it was a return flight from Anticosti Island to Quebec. Two refueling stops were planned, one at Sept-Îles and one at Bécomo. But due to bad weather, they had to reroute themselves at Bécomo because the weather was pretty ugly at Bécomo. So the closest airport was Forestville. So they contacted Forestville in order to check if there was any avgas 100 grade gasoline available because the R-44s are piston engines. Yeah. So they had a positive response saying that yeah, there is avgas available. So it's perfect. The tower contacted the fuel attendant, which was a volunteer firefighter. So they contacted him saying, "Hey, there's three helicopters coming. Can you fuel them?" The firefighter said, "Yeah, perfect. I'm on my way." So once they arrived, they landed right in front of the pumps with the attendant was already ready to fuel the hose in his hand. But this attendant, as I said, was a volunteer firefighter from Forestville. His experience on fueling helicopters was limited to jet engines. Um, he never fueled, how do you say it? He never fueled any Robinson or piston helicopters before. I think he didn't even know that it existed. So yeah, he was ready with the hose in hand. However, the hose he was holding was the hose of the jet fuel. And his training before was he received the training, and his training was a demonstration of a refueling from an official of the airport, and he got supervised. That official also supervised 5 refuelings, and afterwards he told the firefighter, "All right, you're ready to go. You can fuel any planes or helicopter by yourself from now on." So yeah, once he received the call from the tower, the firefighter, he didn't even think that uh, fueling a helicopter with avgas was possible. So he took the the hose, the jet fuel hose, and he was waiting. So the helicopters landed. None of the pilot checked which hose the attendant was holding. They just shut down. They left the helicopter to get warm inside, or I don't know, or maybe they went to the bathroom, whatever. But the point is, no one checked. No one verified which hose it was. And also, there are regulations concerning the orifice of the fuel tanks in Canada, but only for planes, none for helicopters. For planes, the orifice the orifice of piston planes has to be maximum 2.36 inch. For turbine planes, the orifice of the fuel tanks has to be minimum 2.95. The nozzle that the attendant was holding normally has a diameter of 3 inch. So, jet fuel, turbine, um, turbine, and the diameter is 3 inch. So it works. However, the nozzle of the nozzle of the hose was changed earlier that day because they had to fuel an A star, and the orifice of the A star is 2.28 inch. So that's what I'm saying. There is no regulation for helicopters because the A star has an orifice of 2.3, and for planes the regulation it's minimum 2.95. So because of that they had to change the nozzle, and the only one they had that fitted with the A star was a nozzle with a diameter of 1 inch. So yeah, but and afterward they once they filled the A star, they forgot to put the original one back on it. So he was holding the nozzle, he was holding the hose with a diameter of 1 inch, and the R-44s, the Robinson 44s, the orifice has a diameter of 1.5 inch. So it fitted, it was working. The stars like aligned perfectly. Yeah. So yeah, he was fueling. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. The Robinson had the R-44 has two tanks, the main tank and the auxiliary tank. The flight manual says that uh, you have to fill the main tank first and afterward auxiliary tank. The main tank is on the side of the helicopter and the auxiliary tank is on top. Once the helicopter landed, the attendant he saw the orifice, the main tank hole on top, and he thought, oh, there's the tank. I got a fuel here. He didn't ask any questions. He just saw the hole. He thought, all right, I gotta fill the tank. However, you have to use a stool, because it's kind of high for a small person. A small person cannot fuel the R-44, especially the auxiliary tank. He has to use a stool, and when you use a stool, you can see that there's a placard on on just on top of the hole saying auxiliary fuel, 100 octane minimum grade aviation gasoline. To ensure full fuel, fill left tank first and top after filling the auxiliary tank. I'm just reading what's on the placard actually. And yeah, but the attendant he was fueling like this. He wasn't using a stool, so he couldn't see the placard. Uh, he couldn't see the placard on top of the helicopter. Maybe if he used a stool, he could have seen that. He could have read the placard, and he could have prevent the accident that came afterwards. So yeah, he didn't notice too. He didn't see the placard. The 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 pilots they requested full fuel. They asked, can you full our tanks? But that guy he only fueled the auxiliary tank, and the main tank is way bigger than the auxiliary tank. So that guy, once he fueled the main tank, the auxiliary tank, he said, all right, I did my job. He did this for every one of the helicopters. So yeah, the thing is the pilots could have prevented that accident. You know, they could have seen in their bill that the price was pretty low compared to what they paid earlier at the Bagot. I was gonna say Bagotville at Sept-Îles. They could have seen in their gauges that the tanks were not full. They could have drained, and they could have seen that the color is not the same, because avgas is blue and the other one is like white, transparent. Jet fuel is not blue. And so yeah, none of the pilots noticed that something was wrong. There was so many hints, so many hints. The pump itself was jet fuel. The bill, it's written on the bill also what fuel the attendant used. They could have checked the gauges. They asked full fuel. The gauge are like half fuel. So yeah, afterwards, they they every pilot they opened. It's not open. Um, they started their engine, but there was a small amount of avgas left, so each one of the helicopters was able to take off. But once one of the helicopters, he used every single drop of his avgas left in the tank, so the engine completely shut down. So he had to make an auto rotation. He made it, uh, a good auto rotation. No fatality. Small injuries. The other two, they heard the radio call, so they landed. But it's just it's it's just dumb, and that's why I think that this is important, because it can happen to all of us, and it's just that you have to be you have to pay attention to every single detail, because it can save your life. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening.